There's new rumors floating around that James Cameron's going to be working on another Terminator project. And it's not like these rumors are from some anonymous source or anything like that. They're actually coming from the man himself. So I guess you really can't consider them rumors at this point. We just don't know at what stage he is planning on working on them, because during a recent interview, he kind of let it slip that he's going to be working on a future Terminator project, or at least he has plans of doing that. Now, naturally, a lot of people are excited about this news because it's James Cameron doing another Terminator project, and they're thinking of him as, oh yeah, he's the director of the first Terminator movie. And then let's not forget Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which is one of the best, if not the best action movie of all time. But still, I think there is some cause for concern if James Cameron is stepping back into this world. We got this article right here from Gizmodo kind of talking about what he actually said during this interview. Here's the headline: James Cameron is still working on mysterious new Terminator stuff. The Avatar director continues to quietly tease he's got something cooking in his original sci-fi franchise. Scrolling down into the article, a new Terminator animated show was coming out this month, but franchise creator James Cameron has nothing to do with it, and said he once again teased that he's working on something Terminator itself, though he won't say what it is. So during this interview, he was asked about this Terminator series and what his opinions were of it, and he said he has nothing to do with it. He's not working on it, but he actually is kind of pleased with the idea that other people are taking some project that he started and are kind of just putting their own spin on it and doing their own thing with it. But he did emphasize he's not working on this Terminator series, but he did say he has something that he in mind for what he wants to do with the Terminator in the future. I'm working on my own Terminator stuff right now. It's got nothing to do with that. Like with the Sarah Connor Chronicles, they occasionally touched on things that I've been playing with completely independently. So there's some curiosity there. It's not a burning curiosity, but obviously it'd be nice to see it succeed. The interviewer naturally keyed in on when James Cameron said he has his own Terminator things in the works, so they asked follow up on that, which James Cameron replied, "It's totally classified. I don't want to have to send out a potentially dangerous robotic agent if you were to talk about it, even retroactively." So, I get it. Cameron should take his own advice then. Back in 2022, 3 years after the underrated Terminator Dark Fate. Underrated? Are you serious? Cameron hinted there might be a new film in the works. A year later, he mentioned it again, saying he was waiting to see how the world embraced AI before moving ahead. So clearly this is something he's been thinking about and maybe even working on. So this has been something that James Cameron's been working on for quite some time. And some people might think, well, because he's been thinking about it for so long that he's not actually serious about moving forward with it. And that's not necessarily the case when it comes to James Cameron, because the guy's meticulous. You saw how long it took him to make the first Avatar movie versus the second one. Now, granted, he was trying to wait for the technology to catch up and all that other stuff, but still, the guy will wait a long time and make sure he develops his ideas before he moves forward with it. And for the most part, his movies are pretty well done as a result of all that. But him coming back to the Terminator franchise, I'm just kind of hesitant to be excited about it, because you have to keep in mind, it's funny that they mentioned Dark Fate in this article here, because he was one of the writers on Dark Fate. You can see right here, James Cameron, story by credit. And one of the things that people didn't like about Dark Fate was basically them just hitting the reset button on Terminator 2, or at least kind of undermining what happened in Terminator 2 by, at the start of Dark Fate, killing off John Connor the way they did. And a lot of people don't know, but that was James Cameron's idea personally. He wanted that to happen because he wanted to kind of hit a reset on the story and do something else. A lot of the other Terminator movies that aren't really well received pretty much had nothing to do with James Cameron. I think the only ones that he received any credit on are Terminator 1 and 2. He might have been given an executive producer credit on one of the other movies, but that was just kind of like an honorific thing. He didn't have any involvement with it. This is the first Terminator movie outside of Terminator 2 that James Cameron himself actually was involved with. And a lot of people didn't like it. The Rotten Tomato scores and other audience scores aren't bad for this, but you can look at the box office results for the movie and it didn't do too well. People just weren't interested in this movie. And this isn't necessarily just a problem with Dark Fate. It's kind of been a problem with every Terminator movie. I think Terminator 3 did all right, but everything else after that hasn't really done too well. And this one was no exception. So just because he comes back to it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good or it's going to do well. It's just, I don't know, something that he'd be doing in the meantime of his Avatar movies. And if someone wants to watch that, then fine. But the problem with what James Cameron's been doing in recent years is he's been kind of leaning a little bit more into his version of second wave feminism, because he does subscribe to that, as you can see from a lot of his movies, like when it comes to Aliens or Terminator 2, which are movies that people usually hold up as examples of good, strong female characters. And they definitely are. But he's been leaning a little bit, kind of been influenced more by modern day politics. He's been trying to push a little bit more of that in his movies. And that's why we got a lot of pushback for Terminator Dark Fate. But the problem with that is, like I said, his version of feminism is more of the second wave type. And a lot of the modern feminists are more of the third, fourth wave type feminists. And they don't really like what James Cameron has to do, because in his mind, a strong female is one who can also embrace her maternal side to her. And we saw that in Aliens with how Ellen Ripley treated Newt, or with Sarah Connor and John Connor. So a lot of modern feminists don't like what James Cameron's having to do, which could probably largely attribute to why this movie didn't do too well. And not to mention a lot of people put off by the overt politics in it. Which it's funny, because I did find this article of the Mary Sue talking about it, which it's just funny seeing the Mary Sue complaining about someone being too feminist because he's not the right type of feminism. And they're critical over what James Cameron was saying he was trying to do with Avatar. He's like, I want to show a strong female character, so I want to show a character who can fight while she's pregnant, because she's doing something that men couldn't do, like physically couldn't do. And you're not allowed to say that these days, because apparently men can get pregnant too or something. But they're trying to say in this article that it's like, no, just because a woman chooses not to have kids doesn't mean she's less of a woman or less feminine or anything like that. So with what James Cameron's trying to do, it's basically pleasing no one with this sort of thing. So if he tries to bring that over into a new Terminator project, then I think we're going to see kind of what we saw with Dark Fate, where it just lands at the box office with a plop and no one really cares about it, and then it just kind of dies off. And it's kind of a shame, because I think there is potential in the Terminator franchise, but if you really get down to it, Terminator 1 and 2 are pretty much the only good movies that everyone can agree on are good. Other movies after that, I think 3 it's kind of okay. Terminator Salvation, it has interesting ideas to it, but just wasn't well executed. And then Genesis and Dark Fate, those movies are just garbage. I recently reviewed Genesis on my channel, if you want to check that out. And I didn't really like that one. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just not having a whole lot of faith on a new Terminator project if James Cameron is involved with it. This one for Netflix, I think it's kind of interesting, but I don't expect a whole lot of from it. Maybe if there's good word of mouth, I might check it out. But right now, I'll just pass up on that one. Like, I'll probably pass up on even a new James Cameron Terminator movie unless I hear some good things coming out about it. But until then, I'll just have to wait and see. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Would you want to see a new Terminator movie if it was written and directed by James Cameron, or are you just kind of done with it at this point? And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share the video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.